Welcome to Men Pursuing More, the podcast for men who are serious about growth, purpose, and becoming all they were created to be. I'm your host, Roger Maupin, and this is your space to get real, get challenged, and get moving towards something greater. Today's episode is a special focus on men's health because it's time we stop ignoring it. Too many men are living worn out, stressed out, and disconnected from what truly matters. Your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health isn't optional. It's essential. Being a man who pursues more starts with taking ownership of your health. Not someday, today. Strong minds, strong bodies, strong hearts. That's the foundation of becoming the man you were meant to be. This isn't about perfection. It's about intention. So wherever you're at, lean in. Let this episode push you to make the next step toward becoming a healthier, stronger, and more disciplined man. Welcome to Men Pursuing More. I'm your host, Roger Maupin. I believe every man has the potential to push past his limits and strive for something greater. Whether you're a former athlete who is looking for what's next, a professional pushing through the daily grind, or someone simply ready to break through life's toughest challenges, if you're ready to step into the pursuit of something more, your pursuit begins now. All right, welcome back to Men Pursuing More. I'm your host, Roger Maupin. I want to welcome Pat Woodcock back to the podcast. And our focus is on men's health on this third episode. We'll be having reoccurring episodes on men's health every 4 weeks and every Tuesday release at the beginning of each month. All right, Pat, let's get right into it. And today's episode is about supplementation and the food intake. I know I've seen some your YouTube videos on making meals. I appreciate that. And as well as some fitness reels. Share with the audience the importance of supplementation and proper food intake.
So the two, obviously they go hand in hand. When it comes to, I think we want to start with food intake first. You always want to start with real food as much as possible. And supplements are exactly what they're called. They're supplemental to your nutrition plan, right? So we want to focus on real foods. I think for a lot of men in their 40s and beyond, the focus needs to be on protein. And probably you hear that a lot, but I think until you actually start tracking it and know exactly how much you should be eating, you don't realize how little you're actually eating. I know grown men who wake up and they, oh yeah, I have protein for breakfast. I have 2 eggs. Okay, so like my 4-year-old son had 2 eggs when he was that age. That's 12 grams of protein, which is not enough. And so I think it becomes a case where guys think they're eating quote unquote clean and eating healthy, but they're not eating the right amounts of the correct foods. One of the things that we try to focus on is figuring out the correct numbers. So whatever the goal is, whether it's maintaining body composition, whether it's losing some body fat, whether it's gaining some muscle, obviously that's going to change how many calories and how much proteins, fats, and carbs we want you to have on a day-to-day basis. But once we establish those numbers, we really want to create a plan that allows you to eat the way that you and your family already eat, because that allows you to maintain that type of eating plan for the long term, right? If you eat a certain way, and then I, as your coach, come and say, no, you have to eat chicken breast and broccoli 7 times a day, and you have to eat tilapia every Tuesday and Thursday at 3:35 p.m., that's not going to fit with your lifestyle, and that's not going to be something that ends up being sustainable for you in the long term. So really what we want to do is we want to focus on good, healthy pieces of proteins: beef, chicken, pork, turkey, fish. All those things fit into that category. Eggs and Greek yogurt are a secondary source of eggs would probably be a primary, actually, but if something like Greek yogurt, protein powders would be a supplemental one. And then lots of green vegetables, broccolis, cauliflowers, pretty much carrots, cucumber, celery, all that stuff is fantastic. And the way I do my nutrition is I do not put any limits on those. So you can eat as much green vegetables as you want, and they don't count towards your calorie totals or your carbohydrate totals. So you can eat those all day long. And then we want to have a healthy amount of good quality fats as well. So I think a lot of guys get caught up in, I want to lose fat, so I need to cut fat out of my diet. That's not really the case. Really, losing fat comes down to just overall calorie expenditure, and fats are necessary. Good, healthy fats are necessary for a lot of different functions within the body, primarily being hormone production, brain health, all those things are very requirement of healthy fats in the diet. So those are kind of the big points that we touch on. Obviously, it gets very specific when I get into a client, we get into their specific numbers and that kind of stuff. In terms of supplements, what we want to do is have a supplement plan that's going to fill in the gaps in your nutrition. Oftentimes, protein is one of those because depending on how big you are, it can be a lot of protein to eat in one day if you're trying to get it through chicken and steak and that kind of stuff. So, protein powder is a pretty common one that we do. One of the things you want to focus on is finding a supplement company that is super clean and the ingredients are exactly what's in the bottle is what they say on the label, which isn't always the case in the supplement world. And obviously a good tasting one that you're going to be able to maintain and keep eating on a regular basis. Other than that, there's a lot of vitamins and stuff that we would add in as well. I don't know how much you want to get in there, but that's the kind of the initial basics of what a nutrition, how we start with the nutrition plan and where supplements are going to fit into that.
What are some other supplements that you would recommend for that would be beneficial for your overall health? I know it has to do with kind of ages sometimes too. If you're over the age of 40 or over the age of 50, certain supplements, but
Yeah, so I have what I call the Elite Six. So these are the six primary ones that I recommend. And you say the word supplement, and I know exactly what you mean, but really these are vitamins. So these are, and I'm going to say these are important for testosterone production and all that kind of stuff. It is not a testosterone booster by any stretch of the imagination. These are just very common vitamins, but without them, the body can't do the things that we're asking it to do. So my Elite Six are a fish oil, so basically EPA, DHA, vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, a probiotic, and a digestive enzyme. All of those things obviously do something a little bit different, but what they really do when it comes to the goals that we're having with men in their 40s and beyond is they improve overall health. They make the body function just a little bit better. They make the body systems do the things that they are supposed to do naturally. And so it allows the body to then respond better to the training, right? If I'm asking the body to build some muscle and burn some body fat, it needs to be functioning optimally in order for it to do that effectively. So if you're not healthy, if your cells aren't healthy, if your body's not doing the things it's supposed to do, then it's really hard to add in something else that is as complicated as building muscle and burning fat for the body if it's not operating on an optimal basis.
I hear this from a lot of men is I've been taking supplements for a number of years. I take this Nutrilite brand I've been taking probably for over 20 years and really made a difference in my health. But I grew up taking supplements, so I already kind of had a built-in like system or like discipline. But a
Yes.
lot of men talk about they don't have that discipline. I just can't, I forget. How do you, I know how do you create that discipline for men? I've talked, I say, hey, the importance of it, because they get to the point where then they wait till a period of time where, gosh, I'm so out of shape. My doctor said this, my doctor's going to put me on, and you want to prevent a doctor from prescribing things that you need to eat the right foods and you need to do it now. You don't wait till I'm going to start this 6 months from now. So what's a way to encourage men that like, hey, you need to take these six supplements or at least start and take it on a daily basis?
Yeah, I think there's multiple ways to do it. I think probably the easiest in this day and age is you put an alarm on your phone. Obviously, most of them you want to tie to your meals, right? So you're gonna take certain vitamins with your breakfast, certain with your dinner, all that kind of stuff. So if you put a reminder on your phone, everybody's got their phone on them all the time, so you're gonna get that reminder. I think, and then obviously when you tie it to a habit that you already have, that always makes it easier. So you're going to eat food. So you just got to tie it to that. Okay, when I take in my food, I got to take in my vitamins at the same time. It's not going to happen overnight. You got to have some discipline about it and you got to actually do it. And at the end of the day, honestly, if that was the argument for not taking them, you got to look in the mirror and say, you're a grown man. This is something that you need to do in order to optimize your health. Suck it up and figure out a way to remember, right? At the end of the day, I'm going to make the recommendations, but I can't hold your hand and carry you to the kitchen counter and pull out the vitamins for you and put them in your mouth. You're a grown man. These are the vitamins that you need or that we think you need to optimize your health. You got to have the discipline to go and take them on your own.
I like that. You really do. I think men respond different than women. I don't know if I'd say that to my wife or some of her female friends, but it's, man, hey, you need
Yeah.
to suck it up. Hey, this is
Yeah.
your health.
Find a way, man. Find a way.
You
This
got
is
one,
important. This is something that you need to do for your health, for your longevity, for your future. Find a way.
you got one try at it right now. Hey,
Yeah,
focus your attention on your health. Don't
that's it.
wait. Don't wait until, hey, you're like in your 60s to say, oh my goodness, I need to do something about my health. You should.
Remember to take these pills before you have to take the blood pressure pills and the heart pills and all that kind of stuff in a few years if you don't do it.
Yeah, I was coached on that like years ago, and I know I've had some other friends focus attention on that starting at a younger age, but
Yeah.
most I know just like they just kind of randomly do it once in a while, and then they drop off, and then they do it again. And
Yeah.
let's focus back on the food. Tell us more about because listeners are wondering about protein in your diet. And
Yeah.
you shared some protein groups. What is like how much protein? Let's say, man, and let's say weighs 200 pounds.
Yeah.
So they weigh 210. So let's say, man, at 200 pounds, how many grams of protein should he have? And like in some of those food groups, like how many proteins is actually in some of the chicken? And so you
Yeah.
can kind of explain that to the listeners.
Yeah, for sure. So generally it's accepted if you want to be healthy, you want to maintain basically the point of protein when we're trying to lose some body fat, right? For the majority of people that we're talking about here, we're trying to lose a bit of body fat, but we don't want to lose muscle mass and we want to maintain health. So the protein basically saves your muscles while you're in a calorie deficit, right? Calorie deficit means we're going to lose some weight off the body, but we want to make sure that's fat and not protein, or fat and not muscle. So the protein is basically what's called muscle sparing. So if you're doing a little bit of working out and you're eating enough protein, then you're going to keep the muscle that you currently have and hopefully build a little bit of more while the fat comes off your body. So that's part of why protein is so important. Generally, it's accepted in a scenario like that. We want to be in the range of zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein. I say per pound of body weight, and then we make adjustments outside of that in terms of your overall metabolic activity throughout the day and all that kind of stuff. Some people will say it should be of your ideal body weight. So if you're 210 but you want to be 190, then we use 190 for your calculations. That's not the way I do it. I tend to use your body weight right now, just because I find then there's no calculations involved. We know exactly where we're at. And in my opinion, a little bit more protein is not going to hurt in terms of what we're trying to do here. Really, that's going to be most beneficial. So those are the calculations. So for a 200-pound man, you're looking in the range of 160 to 200 grams of protein over the course of a day. That's why I say a good protein powder can be important, because that can be a lot for a lot of guys to eat, if you're not, especially if you're not used to it. And I do say too, if you haven't been eating anywhere close to that level, titrate yourself up. You don't have to go from 100 grams a day all the way up to 200 right away. Go 100, go to 130 for a week, go to 160 for a week, and then keep pushing yourself until it becomes a little bit more manageable for you as you go. And then, so again, what that does is it helps to maintain the muscle. It does have positive effects on your hormones as well. And because protein is quote unquote difficult for the body to digest, you actually burn a little bit more calories from eating protein than you do from other foods. So you're going to expend a little bit more calories just in the process of eating that much protein versus eating more carbohydrates or more fats.
So like a chicken breast, like how
Yeah.
many proteins would I get?
Yeah, so every piece of meat's going to be a little bit different. Generally, if we look, you're going to be somewhere in the range of, I believe it's about 10%. So if you've got a 300-gram chicken breast, you're going to end up with about 30 grams of protein, somewhere in that range. But each, like a chicken thigh is going to be a little bit different. Obviously, a piece of steak is going to be a little bit different. Pork is going to be different. So there's a ton of apps out there. Obviously, the program that I use, I have a custom app and all the nutrition stuff is right in there. So you can just enter in, I ate 100 grams of chicken, and it's going to tell you exactly how much protein, exactly how much fat is in there, and for your tracking. There's different apps out there that can do the same thing. And basically, there's a bit of a learning curve, right? You need to track your food on a regular basis. And that sounds daunting at times, but it's just the reality of really trying to fine tune this thing and get the results that you want. So you track your food for a period of time until you learn what is in 100 grams of chicken breast or what is in 100 grams of steak. And then you can wean yourself off of tracking a little bit. But really, when it comes to stuff like this, it's no different than running your business, right? If you want to know exactly how your business is operating, well, you need to know how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. Your body's the same way. You need to know how many calories are coming in and how many calories are going out. And if you're not tracking, then you're just guessing. And then we can't really make adjustments properly based on a guess. So when we track, we know exactly what numbers are doing what. Then we know where to make adjustments and exactly how your body is functioning to make it work a little bit better.
So if I'm going to have a slice of buffalo chicken pizza, probably not getting a whole lot of protein.
Yeah, no, there's not going to be a ton of chicken on that slice. It's probably better than a piece of pepperoni, but at the same time, it's not going to be enough by itself to hit protein goals for the day.
All right, since we're talking about food, share with the listeners why many would say, "Hey, I don't have time to make a healthy meal," or "I travel a lot." What
Yeah.
can they do to counter that, to make sure they get the right food in their system, but also the protein?
Sure. If you're cooking anyways, then you really have no argument, right? Like cooking is cooking. It doesn't take any longer to make a healthy meal than it does to make an unhealthy meal. So if you're cooking at home, you have the ingredients in your house, you're doing all those things, you're just making a choice to make an unhealthy meal versus a healthy meal. And maybe you don't know what the difference is, and that's fine, but it's not more time consuming to cook healthy than it is to cook unhealthy. If you're traveling and you're eating on the go and all those kind of things, that's the thing. I get that 100%. Whether you're traveling for business or you're just on the go all day long and you need to grab lunch on the go, that is definitely more challenging. There obviously is better ways to do it. The first and foremost, the best way to do it, and this may add a little bit more time, and that is just doing some food prep on the weekend. The way that I've always done it is I get the kind of family plenty pack of chicken thighs from Costco, and I just cook the whole thing. I spice it up however I want, season it, and make it delicious, cook the whole thing, and then it's in the fridge so that if I'm in a pinch or I'm going to be, oh, I have an appointment today, so I'm not coming home for lunch, I got to be out on the go. I grab a couple pieces of chicken thighs, stick it in with some salad and some vegetables, and I'm good to go. And you can do that with a variety of different things. I do it with ground beef. You can do it with ground pork. You can do it with chicken breasts. You can do it with hard-boiled eggs. Like all those things are very easy to grab and eat on the go if you've got them prepped and ready to go. So that's the best case scenario. If you weren't able to do that, or it's a surprise that you're on the go and you had planned on being home and you can't get there now, the next best option is to go to a grocery store. Don't go to a restaurant, go to a grocery store and go to either the deli counter or like the prepared food section and find it. Most grocery stores will have like a nice prepared food section that you can go get lunch. You can get a chicken breast, you can get a piece of fish, you can maybe find a piece of beef. I'm not sure about that. You don't know exactly what the ingredients are because somebody else cooked it, but it's better than a fast food hamburger, right? It's a piece of protein. You can add some vegetables to it, maybe a little bit of rice, and you're good to go. Alternative to that, you go to the deli counter, you get some sandwich, like some turkey breast, some roast beef, some Black Forest ham. You roll that up with a piece of cheese and a piece of celery, and you eat that on the go. Those are great choices. Is it a gourmet meal? Absolutely not. But it's good tasting. You pick whatever you like to eat. It's healthy. It's got some protein. It doesn't have a ton of fat. It doesn't have a ton of added sugars or anything like that. And so it's a great choice when you're on the go. Obviously, sometimes you're going to go to a restaurant, you have business, you're having a meeting at a restaurant, that happens. I think guys really need to get away from the idea that they need to eat a certain way because they're on a business lunch. Oh, I can't order a salad and I can't order something weird when I'm with a client because that just looks weird. And I have to have a beer while I'm there or a drink of wine because that's what we do at business meetings. Okay, just because everybody else does it doesn't mean you need to do it. So I think a lot of guys get hung up on that, and it's pretty easy to make good choices at a restaurant too. Most choices, unless you're at a fast food place. But if you go to a sit-down restaurant, you can order a piece of chicken and rice, or a piece of steak and rice, baked potato, salad on the side. Like those are not complicated things to order, and that's a great meal. Like you don't need to. I'm not saying you need to take a scale and measure it. Maybe it's going to be a bigger piece of meat than you would normally have, or whatever. It's fine. It's not going to kill you at the end of the day. We're not trying to get you ready for the Olympics or to step on stage and be a bodybuilder or anything like that. We just want you to make some healthy choices along the way. So you don't have to order a slice of pizza. You don't have to order a pasta covered in cream sauce. You can get a steak and a side salad and you're golden.
So they probably shouldn't take out
and drink water. Have a drink of sparkling water.
They shouldn't take out their app and say, "Hey, you know what, Pat? I don't think you're getting quite the protein
No,
intake.
absolutely. And that's not what I'm saying to guys that they need to do. You don't need to carry Tupperware of your own food into the
Yeah.
restaurant and be that guy. And you certainly don't need to don't take pictures of your food and try to measure it and that kind of stuff. That doesn't matter. You've made a good
Yeah.
food choice. If it's a few hundred calories more than you would normally eat on that day, it's not going to be the end of the world as long as that's not your norm. If you're eating that way every single day, then yes, you're going to need to make some adjustments because now you're a couple hundred calories more than you need to be all the time. But if it's a one-off business lunch, whatever, I need to go eat this meal and you're a little bit over, in the grand scheme of things, that is not going to matter. This is one of the things that I tell guys too. Perfection is not the goal. I know you're not going to be perfect when it comes to workouts, when it comes to nutrition. Like fitness is not the number one priority. It is an important priority, but it's not going to come before business and it's not going to come before family. So there's going to be days and there's going to be weeks and maybe even months where you're a little bit off track with stuff. You're going to miss a couple workouts. You're going to be eating on the go because you're traveling for work, whatever that looks like. I don't expect you to be perfect. I expect you to make conscious decisions about your food. Don't just, oh, I'm on vacation, so I'm just going to shovel food into my face, and or I'm traveling. That's my excuse. I can eat whatever I want. That's not what happens, or that's not what should happen. You can still make good, conscious decisions about your food to minimize the damage while you're away and stay on track as close as you can, so that then when you get back home, you can just pick right back up where you left off.
You were made for more clarity, more confidence, more impact. At Maupin Coaching, I help high school and college athletes master the mental game and guide men into purpose-driven leadership. Grab the sports book, rock that merch coming soon, and step into more at maupincoaching.com. So listeners are probably wondering, like, what is Pat Woodcock's routine? Like when you get up in the morning, during the day, and until you go to bed? I think listeners would like to know that.
Yeah, so it varies a little bit from day to day. It's not exactly the same, but on a typical day, I get up around 5:30. First thing I do is go into the bathroom and I drink 30 ounces of cold water. And there's a couple of vitamins that I take right away. The water has some electrolytes and sea salt in it just to replenish that stuff. So that's the first thing I do. I go to the bathroom, drink the water, then I get dressed, I grab my dog and we go out for our walk. I get back sometime around between 6 and 6:15. At that time, usually I will eat my breakfast. So I'll have some eggs, probably some oatmeal, a little bit of fruit, something like that. And then around 6:30, I start to wake up my kids for school. My wife is up by that time, so we help her a little bit preparing the lunches and getting the kids organized. I have a small group of men that I train in person a couple times a week. So I go see them for 7, train them from 7 to 8. When I come back home, my one son is still home, so I put him on the school bus, and then I work from about 8:30 to 11, just on the computer, writing programs, checking in with clients, whatever the case is. Around that time, I'll have another small snack, and then I head to the gym and do my own workout. Between my travel there, my warm up, the actual workout, I'm probably gone for about 2 hours. And then come home, I do a little bit more work. My kids get home 3 and 3:30, and then I say hello to them, finish up the last couple things that I want to do work-wise, and then around 4:30, some days we have early activities for the kids that they start at 4:30, so I got to start driving people around, or I might start with the dinner prep, depending on what my wife is, if she's home or not. The two of us will work together to get dinner ready. The evening is usually spent driving kids around to different areas. I may do a little bit of work while I'm at a practice, sitting at a practice, whatever that looks like, and a couple final things when I get back home. And then I put the kids to bed between 8 and 9. The older one, he puts himself to bed, so he's a little bit later than that. But then try to spend a little bit of time with my wife in the evening. And then I usually start my night routine at 9:30. And that is preparing my water for the next morning and making sure all the stuff is in place so that when I wake up in the morning, everything's there for me and ready to go. So part of my morning routine starts the night before when I lay out the water, lay out the clothes that I'm going to wear, all that kind of stuff. So I don't have to search for that stuff in the morning. And then I try to be in bed for between 10 and 10:30 and getting to sleep within about 15 minutes or so after getting into bed.
I appreciate you sharing that, because there's a number of men out there they have busy lives, not just with their work, and with their, let's say, their wife, but also with their kids. And
Yeah.
I know some guys out there that have 3 or 4 kids, and they're busting their kids around here and there, having to pick
Yeah.
them up, having to spend some time with their kids at night, or they're involved in activities. So I think they'll appreciate that about kind of just developing the kind of routine and preparing the night before for the next
Yes.
day.
Yeah, preparation is everything, right? And everybody who's listening knows this from business or sport or whatever it is that they has been their thing. Preparation is everything. And if you go into a situation and you haven't prepared and you're making it up as you go along, it makes it infinitely harder and not nearly as efficient. So if I know I want to have a productive day the next day, I need to do some preparation at least the night before, if not before that. That includes when you go to the gym, if you try to make up your workout when you get there, like that's not going to be a good workout because you're trying to maybe this, maybe that, whatever. Not efficient, not a good use of time. But when you go in with a plan, you get a great workout. It doesn't take very long. You know exactly what you're doing. You're following a plan. So when you can sit down on a Sunday afternoon and lay out what your week looks like, and then fine tune that each evening before you go to bed for the next day and know exactly, oh yes, I have that appointment tomorrow. Oh yeah, I have a podcast at 11:15. Those kind of things set yourself up for success because you're not being caught off guard and trying to make things up as you go along in the midst of the chaos of the day.
And I've read that. I've heard many speak on it, but I've also read a lot of books that talk about how plan your week on the Sunday for the week.
Yeah.
Plan it all out for the week. And I think men are probably wondering, because you're a coach, when do you coach your clients? Because you may not be able to coach them all in the morning or the
Yeah.
afternoon because of time zones. And just share with us about that, about your coaching.
Yeah, so I coach them at various times. Obviously, people are in different time zones and all that kind of stuff. I don't coach live, right? So when you're going to the gym, I'm not like on your phone with you for you to do your
Mhm.
workout. So basically, what I do is part of my work in that morning block is I get into my custom app and there's a messaging feature in there. So I check all the messages from all clients. If they have a question, if there's something they need adjusted in their program, all that kind of stuff. I check progress. I see if some guys have maybe missed 2 or 3 workouts and I need to reach out and say hello. But that part of that morning block is checking in and making sure everybody's on track for the day. And then we do have a Zoom coaching call just like this on the computer once a week in the evening. So guys from all over the world chime in. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern, so we're able to get most guys in North America at least. Some of my clients in Europe obviously don't make those calls, but those guys I will touch base on a one-on-one basis at some point during the week that fits for both of us. So generally I try to touch base in person, or not in person, but face to face like this at least once a week, whether it's on that group coaching call or on a one-to-one basis. And then there's daily messaging within the app so that everybody's on track. I do have some questionnaires that I give them every week to make sure that they're getting everything that they need from me, or if they have specific questions or things that they need addressed that I can take care of for them before the following week begins to make sure the program is running smooth and they have all the information that they need to make it a great week.
I appreciate you kind of explaining that on your coaching, because men that have been listening in, or men that are going to
Yeah.
be listening in, that would be
Yes.
probably one question to come up is how do you connect with us through that?
Yeah.
Do we have any live by Zoom or FaceTime? Do we
Yeah.
talk, or is there any group? So you just explained that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think the group call is a good one because number one, I don't think most of us as men at this age, we don't spend enough time with other men. So it's good to be with a group of guys who are on a common goal, right? Everybody in this program is trying to lose a little weight, be a little bit more fit, be a little healthier. So we're all working towards the same goals. So it's really good to hear from other guys and how their week is going, maybe what they're struggling with a little bit. And if you've been in the program for a little while, maybe you have some insight into, oh yeah, I had that problem too, but this is how I fixed it. And it's a great little opportunity for guys to just connect with other men who are going through the same stuff. And then in terms of the rest of the communication, it's very individual in terms of number one, what's needed and when we do it. Part of the benefit for busy men that we're talking about with this type of program is you're not tied into trying to meet me at a certain time at a certain place every single day. When you train with a trainer in person and you go to it can sometimes be challenging to, okay, I got to meet with Pat Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week at 2 o'clock p.m. at the gym in order to get this workout in. But the beauty of this is you can do the workouts whenever it fits your schedule at whatever gym works best for you. And we're able to communicate off of that schedule. You're not tied into anything. So if a meeting comes up or something comes up with your kids and you can't make your normal workout time, it's not a missed session. right? You can just go work out an hour later or the next day and make everything up. And the same goes for the communication, right? We can touch base whenever it fits best and whatever you actually need to communicate and get answers to questions that you might have.
And it really ties in this podcast, Men Pursuing More, is really to empower and uplift men that they'll connect in a way that they'll just the encouragement as well as just giving them the research and listening to other men that just strengthen their marriage, strengthen the relationship with their kids, strengthen that relationship in their community, that they'll rise up and be an advocate in their communities. That was
100%.
kind of the purpose and just what you're doing. So I appreciate it.
Yes.
Let's go back to like supplements and drinks and share with the listener about the importance of maybe a pre and post workout drink or supplement that would help them in their fitness journey.
Sure. I'll start with pre-workouts. Pre-workouts, there's different kinds of pre-workouts, right? I think the typical pre-workout that, if I say pre-workout, people get a picture in their head of jittery and shakes, and I've got 9 cups of coffee in a single shaker cup and whatever. And that is a type of pre-workout, just pure adrenaline, energy, stuff like that. That's not what we need. That is not what I drink. That is not what I would recommend to anybody. Basically, what we want to do in terms of a pre-workout is we want to prime the body and, just as importantly, prime the brain to go work out. So there's a couple ways that we do that. Number one, pre-workout, we want to have some type of electrolyte in there. Whether you buy a store-bought pre-workout or you are mixing and matching ingredients on your own, basically creating your own, you want to have some type of electrolyte or sodium, some combination of those things to give the body kind of the minerals that it needs to go effectively work out, because you're going to lose some of that stuff through your workout. Number two, we want to have something that primes the brain. So these are what are called kind of nootropics, nootropics. And basically, those are supplements that stimulate the brain in different ways. So one of the best ones is called alpha GPC. Basically, it allows you to focus and concentrate a little bit more and helps you to put some distractions away and focus in on the task that you have and be driven while you're doing it. Helps with a little bit of motivation. So it's certainly not a magic elixir where you're going to take it and you're like, okay, I'm all of a sudden dialed in, but it gives you that 1 or 2% of kind of focused attention. And obviously that's something that I make use of often, not just for workouts, but if I have a big session where I need to do some serious in-depth work for a couple hours on the computer, that's a great thing to have as well. Alpha GPC, a little bit of caffeine, get locked in. Caffeine, we will add in a little bit to the pre-workout as well. So it doesn't have to be a drastic amount. Certainly don't want it to be anything where you're feeling jittery or anything like that. Just something to give a little bit of energy, a few milligrams of caffeine. I think my pre-workout has maybe the equivalent of 1 or 2 cups of coffee in there. Now, I do drink a lot of coffee through the day, so maybe I don't need that much pre-workout, but you don't want something that's going to make you jittery, make your heart palpitations kick up or anything like that. You just want something to prime you to go get a workout in. So there's some different options out there. The company that I deal with is called Revolution Nutrition, and they have I've been in this game for a long time, right? I've been taking supplements. Like I started taking supplements and stuff like that as a college football player when I was 19, 20 years old. So I've tried a variety of different brands, different types, different this, that. And over the years, Revolution Nutrition touches all the bases in terms of having a product for kind of every sort of supplement that you might want, plus very clean, a good manufacturing process. What's on the label is actually what's in the bottle. And so they're a go-to for everything. So they've got a couple different pre-workouts. You want to take a look and see exactly what you're looking for, but there's different variations of basically what I just talked about. For post-workout, a lot of people will say, so there's been talk for over the years of an eating window post-workout. So when you finish your workout, if you don't get your first meal in within the first hour afterwards, then you're giving away gains, you're losing progress. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I don't think that's actually the case. I think as long as you get the right amounts of proteins and overall calories throughout the entire day, then you're still going to come out pretty much where you would be anyways. But I will say that getting a quick source of protein, some carbohydrates, like immediately after your workout can speed up your recovery from your workout and allow you to feel better the next day and get the progress that you want. And it also allows you to meet your overall calorie goals a little bit easier, because at the end of your workout, you should be hungry. And if you have a quick protein shake, just a couple scoops of protein powder, some creatine, just in your shaker cup, maybe some carbohydrate, like a banana or something to go with that. That allows you to get a big chunk of protein right after your workout when your muscles are most receptive to it and can do the most with it. And it also allows you to take a big chunk of whatever, 30 to 40 grams of protein out of your overall daily total that you need to fit in for the day. So I am a big fan of taking your post-workout shake and a piece of fruit or something like that to the gym with you and taking it. Basically, you finish your last set and you're walking to the car, you're taking that protein shake right away and getting that post-workout meal in right away.
You mentioned creatine. I know in the women's health episode I had, they talked about really the benefits of creatine. I know in the last 10 years, there's been pros and cons about the use of creatine. Can you share with us the kind of the benefit of having creatine in your diet?
There's not very many negatives. It's really, for years and years, it has been the most researched supplement in the world. Very little, like you basically have to have a pre-existing medical condition for it to have any sort of side effects. It is outstanding for increasing muscle strength, muscle power, helping with muscle growth. All those kind of things have been documented for years. Over the last, I can't say how long, maybe 5 years, maybe a little bit longer, there has been a lot of research coming out on the cognitive benefits of creatine. So improved cognitive function, improved memory, improved concentration, particularly if you have been sleep deprived. So if you've had a night or two of really bad sleep, you can mega dose creatine in the morning, and its research shows that it does dissipate some of those negative effects in terms of concentration and focus that you would normally experience from a lack of sleep. So it's a staple in my house. My wife and I both take it. My kids take it in their post-workout. So it's something that there, like I said, there really is no negative to taking it. It's super cheap. It's not expensive at all. It has no flavor, so you can't say you don't like the taste. You can put it in literally anything. For my wife, I put it in her coffee in the morning. So when I'm making her coffee, I mix that in, and that's her dose of creatine for the day, and she doesn't notice that it's there at all. So I had the Elite Six that I mentioned earlier. And over the last couple of years, I've said I almost need to make it an Elite Seven and put creatine in that quote unquote mandatory or very much recommended category.
I appreciate you sharing that because I know some men have been hesitant about creatine or maybe what they've read, some articles like 10 years ago, 12. It's been quite a few years. And
Yeah.
like you said, all the research on it now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's virtually no negative outcomes from it unless, like I said, you have some sort of pre-existing medical condition that might be aggravated by it.
I know I've asked this question in other episodes, but I keep bringing this up because men keep talking about this. Women and men talk about this, but I hear a lot of men talking about this too, about getting an average of 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night and what might men do to assist in that process. I know it's a number of things. If you could just kind
Yeah.
of share with the listeners again about how
Yeah.
what might be helpful.
I used to give a talk a few years ago when I was presenting at like different businesses would have me in to talk to their executives at a lunch hour and explain all this stuff to them. And when I started the sleep portion, I would just start by a quote that I had that said, "Sleep is the great equalizer." Sleep fixes sleep. Good quality sleep fixes a ton of stuff. And even if it doesn't fix something that is broken, it makes everything work a little bit better. And on the flip side of that, if you are not getting enough sleep, you can be doing everything perfectly and you're still not going to get the results that you want. You can have the perfect workout program and never miss. You can have the perfect nutrition program, but if you're only getting 4 to 5 hours of crappy sleep, you are not going to see the results that you want to see. It just can't happen because the body does its work while we're at rest. When you're asking it to build muscle and burn fat and improve health, like it does that when we're sleeping, because that's when the hormones get released. That's when the body can go to work because it's not busy walking around and making dinner and dealing with kids. It can just lay and relax and do the work that we've asked it to do through training and through nutrition. So if you're not getting enough sleep, you're absolutely not going to get the results that you want. And it increases stress. It just puts a lot of strain on the body, and that leads to chronic disease and that kind of stuff further on down the road. Sleep is crucial. Sleep is a number one pillar. It is like part of the main pillars of, it should be of any good health and fitness program, and it certainly is of mine. So in order to help get that better, there's a few different ways to do it, or there's a few different things you need to do to make sure that it happens. First and foremost, your room needs to be for sleeping. So it needs to be dark. It needs to be cool. Basically, you should be living in the bat cave. You don't want to have lights on, even though like your alarm clock with the flashing red lights or anything like that, it should either be covered or you should have an eye mask on, because those lights, they kind of mess up. When you see bright lights when you're trying to go to sleep, it basically shuts off your melatonin production. And everybody knows melatonin, a sleep supplement, but your body produces melatonin in the brain naturally. But when you see bright lights, you're on the computer too late, you're on the TV or the phone too late, that shuts down your melatonin production and affects your sleep negatively. So we want the room dark. Number two, we just talked about it a little bit. Try to get off your screens at least an hour before you're going to try to go to sleep. So don't be watching TV until the last minute. Don't be on your phone until the last minute. Turn those things down, take a shower, read a book, talk with your spouse or your kids or whatever before you go to bed, instead of being in front of a screen, because that will help quiet the brain as well as get your eyes away from that light source that's going to shut off your melatonin. Food, you don't want to eat too close to bedtime, because if your body's trying to digest food while you're sleeping, then your body's doing work and it's not fully at rest, and it's going to affect that negatively. A big one as part of that too is alcohol. If you're going to have drinks in the evening, you want to have those at least 2 hours before you're going to go to bed. The big thing with alcohol, specifically with sleep, is basically everything shuts down until your body can process the alcohol out of your body. So any digestion of food or anything like that shuts down completely until the body processes the alcohol first. So then that's going to delay the digestion of any food that you had and all that kind of stuff. And then it's going to affect your sleep because the body's still working, like we just talked about. And I think the last one would be just to make sure that your caffeine intake or any stimulant or anything like that is, there's varying information on this. Everybody's a little bit different, but like 8 to 10 hours before you want to go to sleep. So you shouldn't be drinking coffee at dinner time. Definitely shouldn't have a coffee after dinner. Those are things that should be earlier in the day. So that's completely out of your system and you've processed it all out, and it's not trying to keep you stimulated when you're trying to go to sleep at night.
If we could just take that 5 minutes right there on sleep and make a cut of that, it just really sad how helpful it would be, because I think a lot of men, I think they just struggle with that. I just don't have time. My kids are waking me up at night and I have to do this and that. And they're just like, they don't have that, like you're talking about, what they're doing throughout the day to prepare themselves for sleep that night.
Yeah.
That's so good. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And when you have kids, like your sleep's going to get interrupted. That's a fact of life. And that doesn't end when they become teenagers either. Like sometimes my teenager comes in the middle of the night or whatever. That stuff's going to happen. And you have to deal with that the best you can. But if you can optimize the other 6 days out of the week, then you're still in a pretty good spot if you miss a couple hours one night because your kid comes in because they're asleep or because they're sick.
And you talked about before, we're not looking for perfection.
Exactly. We just want to be a little bit better. Yeah.
Make some progress. Let's get that.
And I said this a little bit earlier with the food. I want you to be intentional about it. Go to bed with a plan, right? Or get ready for bed with a plan, and start your day with a plan, and prepare your food with a plan. Because if you're just making things up or you're just going with the flow and, oh, yeah, okay, I'll go to bed now, you're never going to have progress. You're never going to have consistency, and you're never going to get to where you actually want to be. Just like anything else in life, if you want to get to this point, you got to figure out what it takes to get there, set the plan to get there, and then you got to follow the plan to make it happen.
Wrapping this up, I just got a couple other questions for you. And one is about coaching. We talked about the importance of coaching in the last few episodes. Can you explain to someone who may want to consider coaching, and like what type of coaching would they consider, or like what you're doing? If a guy wants to consider that, because you've been in it for a period of time, you're having a lot of success. So explain to the listeners why someone would want to hire you as a coach. And then if someone's getting into it, what they need to do to become a coach in your profession?
Yeah. So I guess the first one in terms of hiring a coach, for me, I've always been of the opinion that there's kind of two main criteria, maybe a third kind of secondary one. So the number one criteria is, have they done what I want to do? Has this person achieved the things that I'm trying to achieve and know exactly what I'm talking about when I say I want to get there? Number two, have they coached other people to do what I'm trying to do? So they've done it themselves. Cool. Sometimes that can be genetics or that can just be luck, whatever. But have you taken that process that you did with yourself and coached somebody else to achieve the same result? Okay, perfect. You've done that. And then the third one obviously is going to be, okay, do I like this person? Do my values align with theirs? Do they understand exactly where I'm coming from and who I am and what I'm trying to achieve? Those would be the main three things that I would consider criteria when I'm hiring a coach of any kind. I still hire coaches to write my own strength programs. I don't like writing for myself because I just tend to second guess myself all the time. So I always, like, if I'm going to seriously create a new program or start a new program and train for something specific, I hire a coach to write it for me who I know has done it themselves, has trained a lot of people to do it, and that knows me very well. And I do that with business, all the same things, right? If I want to
Mhm.
achieve a certain something in my business and I'm going to hire a business coach, that person needs to have built a business, not necessarily a fitness business, although that helps, but they need to have built a business and then they have coached other people to build a business or make their business better before I hire them. So I think that's the main one in terms of hiring, right? Be coached by somebody who's done what the way you're trying to do. That's pretty simple. And then in terms of becoming a coach, there's a ton of people out there that are trying to be online coaches and influencers and that kind of stuff. Some of them are in that first boat where they've done it themselves, right? They're in great shape. They're whatever it is that they do, however old they are, whatever, they're in great shape. They look great. They love working out. Cool. I'm going to coach other people to do it. But if you haven't coached people in person before coaching them online, it's not the same thing. So, in my opinion, you need to coach people in person before you can become a good online coach. You need to know what that looks like. You need to know how to take somebody through a program and coach them live and coach them in person before you can go online and do it effectively. Because doing it online, and doing it in person too is the same, but there's a science to it, but there's also an art to it, right? There's science that says this many reps, this much weight, this much calories, all that kind of stuff. But there's an art to watching somebody move and helping them deal with stress and figuring out, okay, today's not going to be the best workout. So here's how I adjust it and make it a little bit better. And if you haven't done those things with a live client or many live clients over the years, then it's really difficult to do it online when you're not seeing a person live, right? Because people have those issues all the time, right? I didn't have a good night's sleep. Should I still go do my full workout? I'm super stressed this week at work. Should I try to fit all my workouts in? Should I skip them all? Should I do some? And if you don't know how to answer those things really well, then your clients are going to get left behind a little bit and not get the results that you really want. Obviously, you have to have the knowledge. You have to have some certifications or some education or some background that says, yeah, I know what I'm doing, or at least I've been educated to do it. You need to do it in person really well for a lot of times and get consistent results to know that kind of your system and your style of coaching works. And then you need to create a program that is accessible to people who can't get to you live and in person. But you still have to be very hands-on in terms of coaching them through it. I think the days of creating a 30-day PDF workout program that you just send people a PDF and say, hey, good luck. I think people are beyond that now. And they're looking for a little bit more personal touch and one-on-one and legitimate coaching versus just a set of exercises with sets and reps attached to it.
I liked how you shared. I think there's a number of takeaways there. And one of them is if you're going to coach somebody, hopefully you've been coached yourself. Instead of you're
Yes.
talking about these influencers
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
these coaches like, hey, I'm in shape. I've done these workouts and I want to coach people. It's has
Yeah.
anybody ever coached you? And then
Yeah.
also you talked about the relationship. And so there's got to be a connection there or not. And I think men are just like sometimes overwhelmed.
Yes.
But I went to this trainer and it just wasn't a connection. This other trainer, he's just not in shape. And I'm looking for a trainer that's actually, I feel like he's been maybe coached in fitness and he doesn't look fit himself. And now he's going to coach me. So can you just expand
Yeah.
on
I
that?
mean, I think that it's not to say that somebody who's not in shape can't be knowledgeable
Yeah.
and can't know the right exercises, they can't know the nutrition. But if they haven't been able to figure out how to effectively apply it for themselves, I would question how they're going to effectively apply it for me. If you can't convince yourself to do it, then how are you going to convince me to do it and that I'm doing it the right way? And I would also say, assuming that you're going to train under sort of the same philosophy that you're going to teach me on, it doesn't seem to be working. So I don't necessarily want to train under that philosophy. If it doesn't work for you, why do you think it's going to work for me? And then in terms of the other one, I see that often. I've seen it multiple times where I've had guys that had personal trainers in the gym, but it was like a 20 something guy in super great shape, obviously knows his stuff from a physical and nutrition standpoint, but doesn't understand the life of a 40 plus year old man. When you say, no, I'm really tired and stressed this week and my kids are blah, blah, blah. And he's just kind of, okay, you just got to suck it up and you just got to get it done. Yeah, but at the same time, my kids can't make excuses. Oh, my kid is sick. Yeah, but you got to find a way. Yeah, that's not realistic, right? We talked about this a little bit earlier. Fitness for us is not going to be the number one priority in life. And I think unless you've lived that and are in a position in your own life where you say fitness is not number one, you can't really understand what I'm going through outside of the 1 hour that I'm in the gym with you. Right? If your only responsibility is to be at the gym and make your food and go to sleep at night and have a good time with life, you don't understand running a business and having kids and a family and the responsibilities and the stresses that go along with that. And part of the role of a coach is to adjust programming, nutrition, sleep protocols, all those things based on how your client is feeling, not just what pictures look like or what the scale says or anything like that. So if you haven't experienced any of those things and don't know how to deal with them, it's really hard for you to effectively coach a client and say, oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean, so we'll just adjust the workout and go this way. I think a lot of the younger people who haven't experienced that stuff, they just kind of say, nope, we're all in. It's gym day. Like we're going hard. Like the whole gym philosophy of just go hard and put everything else behind. There's an element to that and there's a place for it, but there needs to be some nuance to it in terms of what else is happening in people's lives.
You think about their clients, majority of their clients are going to be 40 and over. It's like they
Yes.
went
Yeah.
through it. Hey, got out of shape. I used to be in shape and I need to be coached up. I need to get back into shape.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were never in shape, but there's a number of men I know it's like they got out of shape. They want to get back into shape and
Yeah.
they're 40 and over. So that's going to be a lot of their clients are going
Yeah.
to be like 40 and over and they can experience. I got kids in college. I got kids in grade school. It's like I'm going through a lot and I just need to have someone that understands me.
Yes. And also understand for 3 days a week, I might be awesome. And then on the fourth day, you know what? My knee feels awful today. Like I can't do that today. My knee is bugging me for whatever reason. And as a 25-year-old, you're like, what do you mean? We just did this 2 days ago. Your knee's fine. Just push your way through it. No, like I'm 48 years old. My knee hurts today. So we're going to take a little bit of a break and we need to adjust and do something different. And unless you experience that, it might sound like, oh, he's just making excuses because he doesn't want to do it. No, I'm old. My back is sore today. I need to do a little bit more warm up before we get going. I often have days where my warm up is longer than my workout because that's just the way it is. That's what happens when you're in your 40s and your body has a lot of mileage on it.
On social media, there is so much stuff out there. I've seen it, and my wife has seen it, and other men I've talked to that have seen it out there, that the chair exercise, and then it's like this intense workout or the push-ups and sit-ups to work out. And I think for a lot of men, another one is you put this device on your, and it's, okay, you're going to get a six-pack within a short period of time. It's so much out there. I think they just get
Yes.
so overwhelmed by everything that's out there on social media.
Yeah, that's why I do think it's important to find somebody who's similar to you, right? Is in the same situation as you are and understands where you're at and can cut through some of that crap that's out there and help you filter out the valuable information versus the crap that is all over the place.
Yes, it's all
Yeah,
over the place.
it is all over the place.
All right, wrapping this up, Pat, what are some few final thoughts that you want to leave with men on health and what we just talked about today?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is if you're in a place where you're thinking about this and it's something that's important to you, do something, right? Take the first step, whatever that looks like. It doesn't have to be a drastic step. It doesn't have to be overhauling everything all at once. It has to be, I'm going to commit to going for a 30-minute walk every day for the next 30 days and go from there. Or I'm going to commit to making sure I hit a protein goal every single day for the next 30 days and go from there. I'm going to commit to going to bed at the same time every single night for the next 30 days and see what happens. Because that does two things. Number one, it shows you that you've made a commitment and you're moving forward. Number two, if you actually stick to that for even just 2 weeks, any one of those three things I just said, you will notice improvement and you will feel better. And that's a quick win that helps you build momentum, right? You do it for 2 weeks. You're like, okay, all I had to do was go for a walk for 30 minutes and I feel better. I've maybe lost a couple pounds. My energy's a little better. I am sleeping better. So now I'm going to add in this as well. Okay, cool. I'm going to do that for 30 days. That feels awesome. Cool. I like it. This is going well because you take a baby step and you've gotten some quick wins, helps you build momentum and feel encouraged about what you're doing. And then at a certain point, those type of things will get you some results, but they're not going to get you all the results. So at a certain point, you're like, okay, I'm not seeing as much results anymore. So now I'm like in a situation where maybe I want to hire a coach that's going to take me to that next level and kind of coordinate everything for me and make sure that nutrition is doing this and training is doing this and lifestyle is doing this so that I'm following the same path with all three and I can get the best result possible. But just make the commitment to do something. Don't keep saying you're going to do it and never actually doing it. Whether it's taking an action or calling a coach or doing something, just make that commitment to say, yeah, I'm gonna take a step forward today and I'm gonna follow it for X amount of time, and then I'll see the results and I'll go from there.
All right, Pat, thank you so much for your willingness to share. And where can listeners find you and follow your story?
Yeah, so my website is theelitemanmethod.com. So there's a lot of information on there about me as well as obviously about the program and how I coach. Social media wise, on Instagram, I am at Elite Coach altogether. And then Facebook and LinkedIn, just my name, Pat Woodcock. Those are the three that I'm on the most in terms of social media.
All right, that's a wrap with Pat Woodcock and the third of many episodes on men's health. And I want to thank you for being part of Men Pursuing More podcast.
Thanks, Roger.
Hey, thanks for listening to Men Pursuing More podcast. Don't forget to follow us at maupincoaching.com.